Okay. Well, I'm Elsie Moxon.
And I'm Tess Murphy.
Okay, I suppose really we came in at a good time because we had joined the EU and there was the programmes for equality for women, and at the time there wasn't really much emphasis on equality for women in Ireland. So there was funding put in place to provide programmes for women to help with that inequality. So we were lucky that we came in at that juncture.
Yes.
I think perhaps we recognised at the time that there was no third level education for women wanting to go back to work, or no sort of supports. There was no opportunities for them to go back to work because there just wasn't the opportunities there, except you went into a shop or something. And there was a lot of the women had left school after leaving cert, and there was no training for them. And I think that's why we looked
yes, that's true. They had no third level training, and I suppose the new opportunities for women, that was the European project that started us off really. At least the women were able to rebuild, I suppose, their confidence, wasn't it? And they were also able to look at business ideas. And because at the time it was very, very difficult for women to get any kind of startup funding. You know, they would have, their husband would have to sign something in the bank for them. We had this sort of twin track, I suppose, of the women's studies was making people aware of the position of women, and as I was saying, the inequalities. They gradually, because to be quite honest, I suppose people accepted that this is the way the world is. But then we always say, well, like, once your eyes have been opened, you can't close them again. You know, you've seen them through that lens, and you can't unsee them.
Very much.
Yeah. So the two things ran in tandem really. The all along it was preparing women who wanted to go back to work or start their own business, plus the broader, I suppose, academic side of why was there such inequality for women, you know, so as well, I think, wasn't it?
And then we had transnational partners with similar projects, and so their participants would have come to us, and equally our participants went abroad and sort of showed them that their situation was quite similar in other places as well.
And there was a huge learning, I think, about especially the German one, because it looked like that for the previous, 50 years, that women were equal, and just like that, they were back in the home.
You know, and the men were getting their jobs, and they were being all put out of their work.
That it's interesting. We're always a hair's breadth from something, aren't we?
I suppose you can never take something just because you've got, like, it's a bit like the women in Afghanistan now that have 20 years of being able to go to school. And look where they are now, back to square one.
Tess, she did an awful lot of the groundwork, because she would have approached the council looking for sites and looking for support, and there was a lot of places you went to look for.
That when you're talking about politics, you have to, the local council is your first port of call for sure. But when you're talking about politics, you have to, the local council is your first port of call for sure. And we were looking for a site because we knew we'd get European money for the building, but we needed the site. And the council wanted to throw out the idea completely, and there was one woman councillor, I think she was the only, well, there were two at the time, we still haven't got any more than 2 women councillors, and she actually spoke up at the council meeting and said, you know, why not give the women the site at the Women's Centre? But
and was that a turning point?
Absolutely, because women had our own place.
And that was your own place.
That was our own place. And I suppose we kind of got the idea then as well, not straight away, but that we had to be kind of involved in local politics. Now, not particularly by running for election, but we discovered that there are so many committees and little ways into the local decision making, and we discovered that there's no real mystery to it really. You just have to find out how it works, you know, and once you've found out how it works, then you can, you know, these are the key people that you need to know, these are the people that are on this committee, and these are the people that are on that committee, and you kind of have to put your motions together, and you know, it's not rocket science, but there's a bit of learning to it. Yeah.
So then you move then from, I suppose, your initial kind of understanding of how things work
Yeah.
to then being able to use how those things work.
Yeah. Now, having said that, it means, I suppose now we're part, because we have the local public participation network, which probably isn't in Northern Ireland, but we're now part of that, and because that is a kind of a government sanctioned programme, we have to get places on these different committees, these decision making committees.
Yes.
But we still kind of need to meet and talk, and for example, now here at the moment they're doing the local economic and community programme, and those will be the key things that will be happening locally over the next few years. And so we have to make sure that we're there. We had to fight to get 3 places there. We have 3 places there now, and then that we're I suppose making sure that whatever happens in the next 3 years will be broadly across the community, that women will be included in it.
Yes.
Council is the creche of the Dáil, and I think something like 60% of TDs have come through the local council. So like what happens in the local council ultimately will be what happens in the Dáil. So, and what happens in the local council is going to be more important, obviously, well, as important as it here. So you have to have allies, but you have to have them in a way that it's a kind of a win-win. You're not going to get anywhere if you're going to go in and you want to tear the house down and start from scratch. You'd love to, but that's not going to work. So you can't go in there and badger on about something and then you turn them off completely. And so you have to be a little bit kind of wily, I suppose, in the way that you deal with them. To make sure that what you're saying is going to be a win for them as well.
That makes sense to them as
It
well.
makes sense to them as well.